Oh, Nandan is here. Hey everyone, glad to see you back. We're here for our next session now, which will be with Mr. Nandan Nilekani. Mostly he doesn't need an introduction in our ecosystem. He's one of the key architects behind the data empowerment and protection architecture, of which Account Aggregator is sort of the first implementation. And he's been a builder in India for the last few decades, really. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to him and to Siddharth Shetty, a volunteer at iSpirit, volunteer fellow, and one of the key tech architects behind Account Aggregator. So I'm just, you can begin, Nandan.
And thank you, iSpirit, for organizing this very special event to mark a very important milestone. Today, we live in a world where we do most of our activities in some digital manner, and this has been further accentuated by the pandemic as we have worked from home, seen entertainment from home, shop from home, ordered food from home, and so on. Now, every time we do these digital transactions, we leave some kind of trail or digital footprints. This is particularly so on our financial data, because every time we transact financially, when we make a payment or we sell something and create a digital invoice, we are again creating a digital trail. Often when we think about data, we think about how to make sure that that data is convenient for the consumer, that the data is available to the consumer, he can get a quick balance from his bank account on his phone, and so on. But we should also recognize that this data is a very powerful instrument which can be leveraged by the consumer or by the small business to get some benefit. This is the use of data, which is called as information collateral by BIS. For example, if we look at our MSMEs, they have had a lot of setbacks during COVID, and they're eager to get back to work. But one of the requirements is working capital, which often is not available to these small businesses because of information asymmetry and because the lender is not able to come and make a physical assessment of their assets. However, if a business has a digital footprint of its own business, of the payments made to its vendors, of the purchases made by consumers from them, of the invoices and the taxes they have paid, then that information can be used by a lender to make a decision to give that MSME a working capital loan. And therefore, digital footprints properly used, empowered by consumers using their own data, actually enables a huge amount of credit to small business. It can lead to the democratization of credit. And today, as we emerge from the pandemic and as we look for an economic recovery, making sure that small business has access to credit is going to be a very important pillar. What we're talking about today is a journey which began 6 years back. We have a very important organization in India called FSDC, Financial Stability Development Council, which is headed by the finance minister and has all the financial regulators in that body, be it the RBI, the IRDA, SEBI, PFRDA. And this body took a decision 6 years back, a very momentous decision to have a common and unified data consent sharing architecture for the financial sector. This was a very bold and path-breaking decision so that people could combine, mix and match their data from their bank account, from the mutual funds, from the pensions, and get a unified view. After this decision was taken 6 years back, and RBI was the regulator entrusted with executing on this FSDC decision, 5 years back, the RBI came out with the standards for what are called as account aggregators. Subsequently, in a few months, METI, which is the Government of India's IT ministry, came out with the standards for electronic consent artifacts. These were all building blocks of creating the concept of consent managers, who are independent bodies who are regulated and approved by the regulator, who sit between a class of entities called financial information providers, and on the other side, a class of entities called financial information users. For example, your bank giving a bank statement is one FIP. GSTN giving details of tax returns and invoices is another case of an FIP. Or the GEM platform giving a small vendor details of the sales he has made on the GEM marketplace is a third example of an FIP. And therefore, you can have different classes of entities that provide financial information. On the other hand, you have many financial information users. These could be lenders, both bank and non-bank. These could be wealth management firms, many innovators who would then provide services both to individuals and to small businesses with the data that they provide about their activities. The important thing in the Indian model is the creation of this new class of entities that sit between the provider and the user of financial information on your behalf to act as a traffic cop that takes data from one to another on terms that you set in a very safe, encrypted, and privacy-enhancing manner. This creation of an independent class of consent managers is unique to India, and the account aggregator is this consent manager, which is done under a regulatory supervision. The net result of this is we in India have a unique architecture for empowering people with their own data, so that people can use their own financial data to get some kind of benefit from different financial information providers. We also have been very fortunate that the Reserve Bank of India has been at the forefront of driving this change. And in fact, the technical specifications for the account aggregator interfaces have been published by Rebit, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the RBI. Today, after 5 years and many initiatives later, we are on the verge of something very important. About 28 months back, a group was set up called Sahamati that brought all the account aggregators together. And today, we have 4 account aggregators who have got operational approval to get going. And these account aggregators have been working with various financial information providers and financial information users to get this network going. Today, we have 8 banks in the process of becoming FIPs, of which 4 banks are live and another 4 should go live soon. And we have in principle approval of the GSTN to be an FIP on this network. Therefore, today is very important because once we launch this, we will suddenly see a whole uptick of activity as many consumers and small businesses will leverage their own data, use the account aggregator framework, get their data from different financial information providers, and provide that data to different financial information users. While this has been a long journey, our experience in technology has been that once all the building blocks are in place and we are able to get everyone connected and on the same platform, then suddenly magic happens and things take off. We saw that with UPI, which took several years to bring to the table and was launched by the RBI in May of 2016. In October of 2016, the UPI was only doing 100,000 transactions. Today, 5 years later, it is doing more than 3 billion transactions a month. So what we have learned about technology is that once you put all the pieces in place, once you have all the connections and the interfaces built, and once the business models are worked out, then things can take off dramatically. That is why today is very important, because we see this as the starting point of a journey that began 6 years back with the decision of the FSDC to create a unified consent architecture for financial services. And therefore, I'm really delighted that we're having this very special event. I would now like to invite Sid Shetty to give a demo of what is possible with this framework and the technology there. And you can also download an app from one of the providers and test it for yourself. Over to you, Sid. Give a great demo.
Thank you, Nandan. Data sharing, as we all experience today, is completely broken. I'm either traveling to different physical offices, branches, getting printouts of my own data to put it together in a folder that I then use to share with any other educational, financial, health service provider, or I'm running around to different digital portals, taking PDF downloads of these statements, and then uploading those statements or scan copies to service providers in order to access any socioeconomically important service out there. Not just that, hundreds of millions of individuals are actually giving out their username and password to highly sensitive bank accounts and health accounts and telecom accounts and taxation accounts, just so that that data could be shared in a manner that they think is convenient, minus all of the hassle of what I just described in the physical world. But that's horribly not secure and compromises privacy severely. And that's where the power of the account aggregator system steps in, because it now gives you, the individual, you, the small business, complete control, complete and absolute control of your data. Let's look at an example from the world of money management, which, as we know today, exists amongst reams of paperwork and spreadsheets. So an app like Fi attempts to give me insights on the back of data that would be shared via the account aggregator ecosystem. Fi is a financial information user, and they want to offer me insights like what have been my spending patterns over the last few weeks. And in order for them to do that, they need to plug in to the account aggregator ecosystem. Out here, I'm going to use OneMoney, which is one of the account aggregators, to register and facilitate this transaction. So I register with OneMoney, and once I've done that, they will then discover where all my data resides, what all bank accounts it resides in. So out here, what shows up is a list of banks that contain access to my data. And once I've authorized, saying, okay, I want to go ahead and link my Axis Bank accounts, Axis Bank then authenticates that it is indeed Siddharth that is authorizing this linkage and no one else. And once that linkage is authorized, I now proceed to actually granting consent. I review what data I want to share, for what purpose, for what time period, and if that's okay with me, I then go ahead and say yes for that data to be transferred. And in real time, Fi now gets access to my financial information and can apply their analytics to show me various insights on the back of my spending patterns, and many more. But this is just one example. Let's take a look at the world of credit, which today is rife with inequality. Tens of millions of businesses, hundreds of millions of individuals are shut out because the entire system is based on the back of physical collateral. And if we need to invert this paradigm to one based on information capital, then you need to give people control of their data. Out here, I'm going to show you an example of Lending Card, which is a lender that's going to use the account aggregator system to give you an unsecured business loan on the back of your cash flow data. Once I've registered with lending cart, I give them my demographic information, I give them what loan I'm looking for and other attributes. I then proceed with the account aggregator setup. In this case, I want to link and share data from my HDFC bank account. So HDFC authenticates me. Again, I'm using the One Money account aggregator. And once that authentication is successful, they will go ahead and tell me if I can grant consent or not. So out here, I can review what data, again, I'm sharing from what accounts, for what purpose, how long will that data be stored, and other critical attributes that make this an informed consent experience for me. Since this looks okay, I proceed with it. Lending card receives my data, underwrites my cash flows, and returns back a loan offer in real time, which, if the loan offer is acceptable, I can proceed with setting up my repayments, digitally signing the agreement, and actually getting access to this credit. Now that I've shared my data with a few places, I want to have the ability to go back and view where all this data resides, and maybe even revoke some of my consents. So that's where I can log into my One Money account aggregator application, and once I've logged in, actually view a dashboard of where all my consents are and possibly revoke those, so that I'm in, at all points in time, complete control over the data that I have shared. Let's take a look at another example using FinView, which is another account aggregator. In this case, I'm going to a departmental store. I want to buy a consumer durable, a home connected system, and I want it to be financed. So that's where a lender like DMI Finance, who's offering consumer durable loans, steps in. The agent in the departmental store, who's using the tablet that you see on screen, essentially facilitates this process. So I decide, okay, I want to purchase this. The agent on the other end says, that's perfect. Could you please share me similar set of demographic and attribute details, which I do. And then we'll come to a point where they need, DMI as the lender needs access to my bank account statement to actually underwrite me and then proceed with this loan transaction. So when that comes up, I decide to share my bank statement via an account aggregator rather than a physical copy or a PDF statement, which we've done so far, which is what we've done so far. And now I register with FinView. Once I've registered, I need to link, since this is a new account aggregator, I need to link my bank account. In this case, I want to link my IndusInd bank account. Mind you, once you've linked your account, you do not need to relink it every time you grant consent. So IndusInd Bank will send me an OTP to again authenticate me. And once I've authorized, saying, okay, I want to go ahead and link my Axis Bank accounts, Axis Bank then authenticates that it is. So out here, I can review what data, again, I'm sharing from what accounts, for what purpose, how long will that data be stored, and other critical attributes that make this an informed consent experience for me. Since this looks okay, I proceed with it. Lending card receives my data, underwrites my cash flows, and returns back a loan offer in real time, which, if the loan offer is acceptable, I can proceed with setting up my repayments, digitally signing the agreement, and actually getting access to this credit. Now that I've shared my data with a few places, I want to have the ability to go back and view where all this data resides, and maybe even revoke some of my consents. So that's where I can log into my One Money account aggregator application, and once I've logged in, actually view a dashboard of where all my consents are and possibly revoke those, so that I'm in, at all points in time, complete control over the data that I have shared. Let's take a look at another example using FinView, which is another account aggregator. In this case, I'm going to a departmental store. I want to buy a consumer durable, a home connected system, and I want it to be financed. So that's where a lender like DMI Finance, who's offering consumer durable loans, steps in. The agent in the departmental store, who's using the tablet that you see on screen, essentially facilitates this process. So I decide, okay, I want to purchase this. The agent on the other end says, that's perfect. Could you please share me similar set of demographic and attribute details, which I do. And then we'll come to a point where they need, DMI as the lender needs access to my bank account statement to actually underwrite me and then proceed with this loan transaction. So when that comes up, I decide to share my bank statement via an account aggregator rather than a physical copy or a PDF statement, which we've done so far, which is what we've done so far. And now I register with FinView. Once I've registered, I need to link, since this is a new account aggregator, I need to link my bank account. In this case, I want to link my IndusInd bank account. Mind you, once you've linked your account, you do not need to relink it every time you grant consent. So IndusInd Bank will send me an OTP to again authenticate me and authorize this linkage. It's extremely seamless. Once I've authorized this linkage, I get a chance to review my consent request and accept it. Now that I've accepted it, that data is electronically shared with DMI, who underwrites me and then returns back with an offer that the agent on the other end can actually show to me, and if it's acceptable, I can proceed with that transaction. So this is a very powerful moment for the Indian ecosystem, and you have numerous players, numerous financial institutions actually coming together, many of whom are live. In addition to FinView and OneMoney, you have CAMS and NADL, which are account aggregators that have got operational licenses, and you can actually download the apps of these AAs from your Play Store or Apple App Store. And not just them, but you have banks, NBFCs, and various registered investment advisors that are also live with their applications. And this ecosystem is growing as we speak. Every single day, hundreds of informed consents are being approved, and radically new financial services are being accessed by individuals and businesses in this country. And it's only going to grow from here. So now's the time for all of you to start building.
Thank you, Sid, for that brilliant demo. What you saw today was a demo of the application of account aggregator framework for banks. However, the same framework can be applied tomorrow for other financial sectors, for insurance, for pensions, and many other things, securities market, and so on. Moreover, talks are on to get the telecom data also on this network, which means that tomorrow, somebody who has a mobile phone and has a great track record of regularly paying for prepaid telephone charges can then use that data to get a loan. The account aggregator system, while initially developed for financial services, actually transcends that. It's an architecture that can be applied to any sector. And in fact, there is a discussion now happening on how the account aggregator framework can be applied to the sector of healthcare, so that people, just like we in the financial sector, people are empowered with their own data to get access to better financial services and loans. In the healthcare sector, patients and consumers will have control over their own medical data and health records to get access to better medical health care. So this is truly a transformational initiative, which is empowering people with their own data. We can confidently say that there is no other country in the world which has developed such a thorough and robust architecture at scale for a population of 1 billion people with 50 million businesses to take advantage of their own data to improve their lives. Use data to get a better deal on the credit, use data to get better healthcare, tomorrow use data to get a better job. And therefore, India's unique model is something where data is leveraged not just by businesses and companies, but by individuals and small businesses to empower themselves to improve their life. This approach is now slowly getting global recognition as India rolls out more and more applications leveraging the AA network and the ideas here. Many countries who are also grappling with how to deal with their data are coming forward to understand the Indian model. And I'm sure that this will be one more of India's digital public good for the world. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Nandan, for that. I hope you guys were as excited to see the demos and the early use cases that are already live. I hope you've all gone into the App Store already and downloaded one of the 4 account aggregator apps. I'll give you their names again in case you didn't get their names. It was CAMS, FinServe, NADL, FinView, and OneMoney. Those are the guys that are already live on the App Store. There are 4 more account aggregators that have in principle approval, 3 more that have in principle approval but are not yet operationally approved. And there are many, many more that have already applied for an account aggregator license. So we really see this ecosystem growing. But at this point, I just want to say the big takeaway here was the 8 major national banks that have joined, of which 4 are live and 4 are coming soon. And this group of 8 actually accounts for about 40% of the bank accounts in the country. So this is a big move, and we're hoping, actually we're seeing that many different more banks are indicating interest to join the network. So we're looking forward to seeing this ecosystem grow. At this point, I want to take a moment to take a look at and hear from some of the earliest builders, these early 8 and the ecosystem that made this 8 possible, including the technology service providers, the account aggregators, as well as the banks themselves. Take a moment to hear from them on their journey, why they bet on AA so early, and what growth potential they see from it. So we'll take a quick video at this point.
As India goes digital, data becomes a significant driver of growth. However, this data belongs to the citizens. Enterprises are merely custodians of data, and it is only right that we build this national infrastructure of account aggregators through which citizens can safely share data. Through account aggregators, enterprises can both contribute and leverage data to create amazing experiences for their customers. This will lay a strong foundation for a data-driven society in India, and HDFC Bank is proud to be a part of this journey.
Account aggregator is a very exciting step in the evolution of financial services industry, is what we think at ICICI Bank. Getting customer to the center of everything is important, and as more and more data is democratized, as more and more customers get to see a bouquet of financial services, I think basis that on accounts aggregator, a lot of use cases can be built up. The other very good thing is that because they are all driven by Revit standards, the scalability will be easier and the trust on the whole system will be greater, and that will also lead to greater adoption.
At Axis Bank, we are very excited to be part of the AA journey. We were amongst the first banks to go live on the framework and are keen to see this initiative succeed. We believe AA enables democratization of the power of data for consumers and can be a game changer in credit delivery, financial planning, and many other areas of critical importance for the financial service system in the country. We look forward to continue to be part of this journey. Thank you so much.
Federal Bank is proud to be associated with account aggregation. We do believe this will be a game changer for the financial ecosystem in the country. It will deliver huge benefits to customers across multiple use cases. The most notable of them could be how it can enable democratization of credit availability across all sections of society.
The access to credit in the formal financial system will become richer with the presence of the account aggregator framework. It also will give customers the view of how the data is stored and for how long is it stored. This also brings all financial data at one place, thereby creating use cases like personal financial management or robo-advisory. I think we can build many more use cases as this framework becomes richer and we see wider adoption of account aggregator framework. I'm quite upbeat about the prospects of it, and we at Kotak are glad to be part of this account aggregator framework.
We at CAMS FinServ were very excited to get approval for our account aggregator business. To be part of what is likely to be the world's first digital infrastructure for asset information exchange was indeed a milestone in the journey of our company.
So being one of the early builders of the ecosystem has been challenging, but we've been working closely with various ecosystem partners, Sehmati and Revit, and now to see our contributions reach this stage is exciting. So we continue to expand on the ecosystem and hope to see the scale soon that we are envisioned for it.
As a union government company, NADL is proud and excited to be a part of this ecosystem, which plays a significant role in enhancing financial inclusion, a top priority for the RBI and the central government.
Building open banking and account aggregation is building a happy society, an act of faith that making other people happy results in collective happiness. One Money is dedicated to pursuing this challenge. Empowering the underserved is a priority. Thank you for joining us in the open banking movement.
I think it's crucial to have a scalable systems and a standardization of technical aspects, while at the same time keeping room for innovation for improved customer experience.
It's important to work closely with the business teams at the banks to design and track user journeys to ensure a seamless end user experience. It is this collaboration and iterative innovation that are key to promoting wide adoption.
Congratulations, Sakamati, on this wonderful milestone. Our best experiences have come from banks that use AA to build new customer journeys rather than treating it as yet another channel. These visionary banks realize that the true value lies in enriching real-time decisioning by removing friction in acquiring data. As we are onboarding 15 to 20 FIs and are in advanced discussions with 25 to 30 more, we are sharing these learnings with them, nudging them to reimagine their customer delight. Once again, congratulations from Perfumes.
So hey everyone, as you can see, the account aggregator Leapfrog is truly here, well and truly here. And I hope you're beginning to get a sense of the breadth of the ecosystem and the fact that AA is not a slide anymore. It's not a piece of code, it's use cases and applications. So hopefully this will encourage you to continue to build on it and to contact those who can sort of support you through this process. We'll take a short break here and come back for the next session, which is going to be an exciting one, giving us a global lens on account aggregator. Be right back, guys.